Welcome to Point Blank, brought to you by Fitz Roofing. I'm Brandon Stranger, Sports Map Houston. That's Joel Blank of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Hey, Joel, welcome in. I know, you've seen Kevin Porter Jr.'s apology for his outburst towards the Rockets' John Lucas and bouncing mid-game. His apology, in reading it, was interesting because he apologized for the way he handled it. He said, quote, "Even if you feel like you're in the right, there's ways to approach things and situations, and I felt as a man, I didn't approach it the right way," end quote. So as you read between the lines there, I'm curious what your takeaway is from that apology.
Well, my takeaway is that there's a kid that everybody is very concerned about. They seem to like him. There's a likability factor regardless of how he plays, and they also respect the fact that he could be a very good player. But I think, Brandon, when you look at the situation, the guy that was basically on his side more than anybody else is the guy that he lashed out at John Lucas. And the fact that, yes, he had remorse. Yes, he was apologetic. But this is not the first go-round, and you can go all the way back to USC. You can go back to the reason why the Cavaliers basically gave him away for nothing. And then you look at what's happened since he's been with the Rockets. Regardless of whether you say that there's any blame for what happened at the strip club in Miami a year ago, there have been other incidents leading up to the incident that happened the other night that leads you to believe that there are issues there. And he's young, and the Rockets obviously see something in him. That's why I think the bigger picture is this isn't what everybody said, a bump in the road, a maturity issue, something you can sweep under the rug and move past. I'm glad he feels remorse, but I think from a Rockets perspective, if they truly feel like they're investing in him, what they really need to do right now is invest in getting him some help and someone that might be able to help him get through and get over some of these obstacles. It's not about his basketball abilities. This is about big picture. And if they are focused on Kevin Porter Jr., the focus right now should be on Kevin Porter Jr., not Kevin Porter Jr. the player, just Kevin Porter Jr.
No, and obviously talent-wise, there's no question he's got it there. We've seen just flashes of brilliance from him, so we do hope he gets it together. I want to talk to you about that dynamic with John Lucas, but before we get into that, give us a word from Fitz Roofing.
Well, we love the people at Fitz Roofing because they're loyal to Houstonians, and they do so much more than just roofing, but roofing is their specialty. From fixing a roof for your business or your home to putting a whole new roof on a commercial structure or your house, they'll take care of you every step of the way. They also do fences in your yard and home repairs. Check out all the things they do at fitzroofing.com, but better yet, call them 832-521-3001. They come to you for a free, no obligation inspection and tell you all the ways they can help. Fitz Roofing, making a difference, one home at a time.
So the run-in with Lucas was interesting because, you expect to have run-ins with your assistant coaches at times, or even your head coach at times. But what's interesting about this Rockets team is that there's a lot of assistants, and their roles necessarily aren't outwardly transparent, like what their titles are and what their interactions are with the team. You were with the Rockets for a lot of years. Was it common to have so many assistants with roles that were so ambiguous?
Well, first of all, Brandon, it wasn't common to have so many assistants. But when Daryl Morey got to a certain point in his career, he set a precedent that started to take shape in the NBA that had never been heard of before, which was selecting assistant coaches instead of the head coach picking all of his assistants. When ownership and or management gets involved in selecting coaches like Mark Cuban has done in Dallas, we used to joke that Mark Cuban had more assistant coaches than an NFL team because of the fact that he did hit his way. Daryl Morey kind of took it a step further and said, with Kevin McHale, you get one assistant coach that you pick, and then the rest of the assistant coaches I'm going to pick, including the guy that was the runner-up to getting the job that you got in Kelvin Sampson. So things changed, and when they changed, the general manager got more control, the coach got less. That's what you're seeing right now. John Lucas is a Rafael Stone guy. John Lucas was brought into this organization, brought back into the NBA by one guy, and that was Rafael Stone. He was promoted at the end of last season with the coaching change. So there's a guy that knows that the general manager is in his corner and at his side and wants him to be there. So he has more of a security blanket and feels more comfortable being able to say whatever he wants and be the guy that can be vocal in that locker room. Stephen Silas should have been that guy. He's the head coach. He's supposed to be the commander-in-chief. If anything, this still solidifies John Lucas and his role on the bench with the Houston Rockets. It does question the credibility and the control that Stephen Silas has over this locker room and these players going forward.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is I wonder if there is a little bit of ambiguity even with the players as to who they really report to or who has the power in the situation. And then quickly before we're out, you've said that Christian Wood's situation is different than KPJ. KPJ is young. He's still a work in progress and a project. Even in Cleveland, they had good things to say about KPJ on his way out. But on the other hand, there's Christian Wood, who's more of a veteran, who has that big contract already. What has Christian Wood, with all of this, now done to his trade value?
It's going to be an interesting proposition, Brandon. I don't need to see him on the court anymore to know that he can play. He can get you a double-double every night, and he can fit in. What he can't fit in right now, in my mind, is in a locker room. I think the value goes down because of the question marks and the concerns any organization would have in bringing Christian Wood into their locker room. Because there is, just like we talked about the track record with KPJ with acting up, there's a track record of Christian Wood being just a really bad dude in the locker room and being all about himself. And this just adds fuel to that fire. The fact that he was late to 2 separate appointments with the team is a disrespect to your teammates. The fact that then after playing badly when you were finally in the game in the first half, you waited till after the KPJ incident to refuse to go in the second half. Your coach tried to cover for you, but then in the post game, you took it upon yourself to make it about you yet again, and you blew up with your entire team in the locker room to bring more attention to yourself and basically tell the rest of the team you don't care. Those are the kind of things a playoff team doesn't want and doesn't need. And unless you have some really strong-willed, strong-minded individuals that are veterans in your locker room that basically tell him, this ain't about you, this is about what we're trying to do. You either join us and you're with us or get the hell out. Then there's going to be problems wherever he goes. The one thing that I was adamant about is I don't think he should play another game for the Houston Rockets. I don't think he can play and do anything more to increase his value in his stock. What he can do is hurt himself even more by acting up yet again, and you give him that opportunity if you put him on the road, put him on the bench, and put him in a game. That's why I think if you're the Rockets, until you definitively know what you're going to do with him, he doesn't need to see the court another game.